Hey there everybody, this is Robin with Creative2xmom, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you what we read in the month of September. So welcome back to my channel. My name is Robin and this is Creative2xmom. This channel is all about homeschooling, parenthood, and thriving in the day-to-day. At the end of each month, I like to share a video like this one with you, just highlighting the books that I read throughout the month as well as any books that we read with our kids. September was a really light reading month for me. I felt like there should have been more here, and then I had to remind myself, oh that's right, we are now in full swing homeschool. So even though I only completed 4 books, still pretty good. That's still a book a week, and kind of got some other things eating up my time these days. We're not in summer mode anymore. So I have 2 fiction books in front of me and 2 non-fiction books, as well as the read aloud that we started but didn't quite finish. So let's start with the fiction books. Now these are both young adult fiction. I happened to pull these from my father's world curriculum, their world history curriculum. I had put that together for my freshmen this year, and we decided to go another route. But I had already pulled the books from our school library, and there were several here that she wanted to read and also that I wanted to read. So I grabbed 2 from that stack. The first one was The Breadwinner by Deborah Ellis. This is a book about a young girl who lives in Afghanistan. Her father has been arrested, and they have no one to support the family because it's just her and her sister and her mom and then some younger siblings. So she disguises herself as a brother, and she goes out into the marketplace and starts making money for the family. So this is all about the rules and the regulations that the Taliban put on these women, what she had to do to go out and help her family survive. And they have a neighbor that comes in and lives with them, helps them sort of through the psychological aspects of what's happening. You really get into seeing how this affects her emotionally and mentally, as well as just the family trying to survive. Really good book. I was debating handing this one off to my 6th grader, and then there was one scene that, although it was not incredibly graphic, it was just enough to make me cringe. I don't think he's quite there yet, but I'm going to add this one to our Story of the World curriculum, which we will loop back around to modern times when he's in 8th grade, and I think that this would be a better fit for then. However, if you've got that junior high age kid, I would definitely recommend this one. It doesn't get too graphic that you have to really censor it, but it's enough to give them a taste of what's happening in the world and kind of introduce some of these tougher topics. The next book I read was also from my father's world history. This is called The Year of Impossible Goodbyes. It's by Suk Chow. This is a young girl. I believe this is written off the author's experience. I could be wrong about that. But it's a young girl who is in Korea, and it's all about the changing of leadership after World War II. How there are several countries vying for control, and how these Korean families were caught up in losing their independence because of this territorial war that is happening afterwards. So this young girl is with her family. Her father and brothers have all been sent off to concentration camps. They don't even know if they're alive. It's her and her mom, a younger brother, and an aunt. And they are in charge of a sock factory that runs for producing socks for the soldiers. And they're always on guard for offending anyone because they have really no rights and no control. And it's also about how, I believe it's the Japanese that come in, I can't remember. There's another country that comes in and takes over the school, and she's not allowed to speak her own language, she's not allowed to keep her name, and it's about the escape that her mom and her little brother have to plan and follow through with. At some point they are separated from their mom, and so it's all on this little girl's shoulders to escape to South Korea and find a way of reuniting her family. Really good book. This one I probably would pass off to my 6th grader. I don't remember there being anything completely startling, but I do think that with a little bit more maturity, he'd probably absorb it a little bit better. So I'm going to hang on to that one for Story of the World Volume 4 as well. But as far as content, I would have no qualms sharing this one with him. So let's talk nonfiction. The first book that I read this month I shared in my fall reading list, and that is The Living Page by Lori Bestvater. This is a book about keeping notebooks in your Charlotte Mason homeschool. And I shared with you guys a video in July, I think, about the notebooks that I have kept over the last few years to sort of get myself into notebooking. But I don't know a whole lot of the ins and outs of the philosophy, why it was introduced, how Charlotte Mason herself describes it. Really, what I have gotten has been other people's interpretation. This book is so in depth. If you want to know anything about Charlotte Mason notebooking, this is your research. This is your resource that will tell you exactly how to go about it. I was a little bit overwhelmed. I'm not gonna lie. I've read it. I've absorbed what I can for now. This will be a reread in the future because there is so much information in this book. So many different ways that you can take notebooking in your homeschool. I'm going to hang on to this one. It actually belongs at our school library, but I'm going to hang on to it for a little while and try to go through it a little bit more slowly in the coming months. There have been a few things that I have incorporated from this, in that I am adapting the way I do my Book of Centuries a little bit. I am learning a little bit more about my commonplace book. Those are the two I'm focusing on right now. But I would love to come back to this in the future and slowly work through some of these other notebooking ideas. There is so much information in this. I think it retails, it doesn't say on the back, but I think it retails for around $13 or $14. Let me tell you, it is well worth the price. This would be a really invaluable research book, especially if you are in the Charlotte Mason tradition. Very well worth it. And then the last book that I read in the month of September was the Cat Behavior Answer Book. Now this book was a review book. It's so off from what I typically read, but I happened to see it come up for review, and at the time we were doing a cat unit study in our homeschool, and my 11-year-old is obsessed. And we have always been a cat family. We've always had pets in our home, and I thought, well, even as much as I know and I've learned over the years, I'm sure there's probably things here that I could still learn or be reminded of. This book was so packed full of information. It was not what I was expecting. I was expecting a very typical little bit of information here, a little bit of surface information there. Oh my goodness, this had more information in this one book than I've probably ever seen in a pet ownership book of this sort. The photographs were beautiful, the information was applicable, it wasn't so off the wall that it was information you would never use, but yet it really went in depth about the causes and the reasons of a lot of behaviors. We loved it. I have a full written review that I'm going to link below, but let me just tell you, especially if you are a newer pet owner, I would definitely pick this one up. But even for those of us who've had pets for a while, I still learned a lot from this one, and it's just kind of a fun read. Okay, let's talk about read alouds. Now, we did not finish. We started Sword in the Stone maybe a week into September, and we're only on chapter 12. The chapters are pretty long, and September was relatively busy for us. My 11-year-old son is loving it. My 14-year-old daughter, not so much. Lots of battle scenes, lots of fantasy, and she's not a fantasy reader. So if you have a child that likes historical fiction, probably not going to be the best read for them. If you just want a fantastical adventure, definitely fun. Now, my word of caution is there's a lot of just made up things in here that the vocabulary gets sort of tough when you're reading it out loud. We are about halfway through. I'm anticipating that we will finish about halfway through October. I'm really committed to this one. At first, I wasn't enjoying it either, but the more that I got into it, and the more I got into the fantasy nature of it, I am enjoying it as well. So I am really committed to finishing this one out. After this, my plan is to take a little break from the medieval stuff. We will return to King Arthur at some point. That was going to be my next read aloud. I think we will take a little break and read The Mouse with the Question Mark Tail, just to have a little break from the medieval fantasy for my teenager, and then we will come back to it. But I will try to share a little bit more in October, give you our final thoughts on this book as well. So far I'm liking it, but you probably are going to need to break up the chapters because they're quite long. For myself personally, I am reading a fiction book. You will get through this by MacLeod, just sort of some personal family life stuff going on with us right now, and I needed the encouragement. I will say MacLeod is very easy to read, and so thus far it's been a good one. I will share more in October because I think I'm halfway through this one, and it'll probably be about the first week and a half of October before I finish. And then my fiction book is on my Kindle, and I'm going to actually finish it in a few days. I was trying to finish by the end of September, and I didn't quite make it. But I'm reading an Amish Christmas Star, and this is a collection of 3 Amish novellas. And I have some thoughts on this style of writing. I don't know, you may have heard me discuss this before. I have some thoughts on these specific 3 books, but I don't think I want to share those until I've really had time to finish out the book and collect what I'm thinking. So that will be in October. I didn't want to push the last few days so hard that I gave a hasty review and didn't really share with you my true thoughts. So that's everything that we read in September, and a little bit of a preview into October. If I were to pick my favorite fiction book, well, I only read 2 of each, so favorite is sort of relative. My favorite fiction was nonfiction was The Living Page. Very good, great resource. I would definitely hang on to that. And of the 2 fiction books, I don't know, probably The Breadwinner. And it looks like this is part of a series, which I didn't realize, so maybe I will read the next one. I'm not sure, but that one was my favorite of the 2, although it was very, very close. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you're reading, maybe what I should add to my winter reading list. I'm already looking ahead. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.